All right, we are live. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Today we're going to talk about the number one enemy to success. And here's the thing, it's a big thing. And when we can conquer and beat and crush this one thing, we are limitless. We can do anything. So that is why I wanted to talk about this today. It's so important. So we're going to talk about the number one thing, and then we're going to unpack all the different pieces and how you can conquer this so that you can finally reach whatever goal you want. So if we have not met, I am Shauna St. James, and for the last 5 years, I've helped over 5,000 artists and creatives and entrepreneurs build their online empires, right? Their online art empires, sales empires, businesses. And we've done this by helping them, 2x, 3x, even 10 times their sales. One of my clients went from selling 5,000 in a year to 80,000 in her first 6 months. So we know how to give you the strategies, the systems, and the tools and the skills you need to reach whatever goal that is for you. So if you're here, if you're new here, I would love for you to ding the bell, subscribe to this channel because we are always, our focus honestly is to help you with whatever it is you need. So you're going to look through the videos here and you're going to see all kinds of training and time here spent here will help you move forward. Okay, with that said, yada yada. I want to dig in. The number one enemy to success. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is? Well, let me tell you a little backstory first. So, when I first decided I was going to start an online business, I really had no clue what I was doing. And honestly, each of the things we're going to unpack today, I am the number one person here. So I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, you're calling me out, or, there's nothing accusatory going on here. I don't want you to feel like you need to be on the defense. I want you to come into this with an open mind and look at whether you can identify whether some of these things are what's getting in your way of whatever it is you want in your business and frankly in your life. Okay? I think you will understand after we start digging into this what I'm talking about. All right, so I affectionately call what we're going to walk through today struggle buses. Okay, but the number one enemy to success is, and I really, like I said, stay with me here, is yourself. I know. And honestly, I say this with all the compassion in the world because I myself experience this on a regular basis. It's something that happens to us every single time we want to start something new. So if you've watched any of my training and videos before, you know that part of what I talk about is the snake, the otter, and the moose, right? Our mind, what goes on in our mind controls everything that's in our reality and our existence. And our mind is like a forest. And inside the forest, we have three main critters that are roaming around in our forest. We have the otters, that's the frontal part of our brains, the frontal cortex, which is all about coming up with new ideas, excitement, and all the opportunities and possibilities. That's what the otters do, right? They're about fun. They're about finding joy and happiness and figuring out how to reach a goal. That is what our otters do. Then we have our snake. And what does the snake do? Well, the snake hides out here. This is in the amygdala. This is the basal part of our brain. They call it the reptilian brain, right? When we're talking about how our brain is wired and functioning. A lot of my background as a psychology degree, I've spent a lot of time understanding neuroscience and why our brain impacts so much of how we behave. So the snake is all about he's lazy. He really doesn't want to do anything different than just sit and wait for whatever opportunity may come. And usually he's scared of every opportunity. So the first thing he does is strikes out. How does that translate into what happens in your mind? Well, here's what happens. Anytime the otter suggests a new opportunity, the snake is going to shoot it down. Oh no, we could never do that. Oh no, that's probably not legit. That's too risky. The brain wants to avoid doing anything, right? It's wired to help conserve our energy and to keep us safe. And that's what the snake does. Just holds everything back and will defend everything, like deflect everything and give every reason why you shouldn't do that or why it wouldn't work, right? Because it's fear-based. It's really activated on fear, and any change activates fear. It's just one of those things, okay? Very, very few of us really embrace change and seek it. That is about 2% of the population is wired that way. But even when you do that, you actually go through these same stages. Okay, so we have our otters, we have our snake, we have our moose. What is the moose doing? Well, the moose is a subconscious, and the moose is actually the most powerful, biggest part of our brain and how our brain functions. Subconscious means it all happens on autopilot underneath our awareness. And so a lot of times we don't even realize that all the actions we take during the day, the estimate is 95 to 98% of what we do and say and everything we do is on autopilot, driven by the subconscious. And the way that happens is there are neural pathways in our brains, in our minds, that have just been repeated and repeated and repeatedly taken till well, they're well worn. And so they're very easily activated and triggered. So our moose is just taking the same path, the path that knows to the same locations, the same lake, the same creeks every single day. He really doesn't want to have to do anything else. And to be honest, he doesn't know anything else. He doesn't even know what else is out there because he just does what he's always done. Okay. So then our otters are saying, hey, I have this new opportunity over here. Or if you're starting a new business, if you want to do anything new, if you want to start a new sport, a new hobby, right? I remember when I first decided that I was going to become an artist at the age of 39. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go into the art business. Now I look back and I'm like, what the heck? Talk about otters, right? I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. And so the snake was like, absolutely no way. There's no way you can do this. You've never even painted before. How in the world do you think you could be successful at doing this as a business? One of the reasons why I was looking at doing this as a business is I suddenly became a single parent of 3, and I still needed to be available for my kids. So I needed to have some sort of income to supplement what I had, but I didn't want to have to work a full-time job because my kids had always had a stay-at-home mom. They'd already dealt with a lot of trauma. So my goal was to be able to be available and be accessible as much as I possibly could so that their lives weren't quite as disrupted. Now, whether that happened or not, yada, yada, but that was the goal. So that's why I was considering a business that I could build myself on my own terms, work when I wanted, how I wanted. I wasn't going to be required to punch a clock 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. And I would also be in charge of how much I could earn, right? That was completely up to me. There wasn't a set salary or a cap or, a dollar amount per hour that someone told me I was going to be earning. It was wide open, right? Sky's the limit. That's why I decided to start my own business. And at first it was a physical business, and then I realized quickly that I needed to be online. So quickly shifted to an online business. In that process, everything we're going to talk about today is what was going on that was keeping me from having the success that I really could achieve, that I really wanted to experience. And I want you to think how this may be getting in your way of whatever it is you want as we walk through this today. Because we're going to really analyze and diagnose 7 different struggle buses that we do to ourselves, right? Right? Because we're the number one enemy of success. It's ourselves. And we're going to unpack how that happens. So if you are in a situation where you are not happy with where you're at in your business or where you're at in your life, this could be the secret to solving that, to getting a solution so that you can move forward from wherever it is you're at. You know, whether the rug's been yanked out from underneath you and you are definitely not where you thought you'd be at this point in life. Hello, that's me. And honestly, it's a lot of my clients, right? For whatever reason, we all get to these places for through different experiences and reasons. Like how it happened isn't as much as important as the fact that it is happening right now and we want to change it. So we're going to talk about everything you can do to start making those changes and get where you want to go. Because more than anything, that's why I got into psychology. That's why it has been such a big part of my life. You know, my coaching business, my clients that I work with, we work from everything from, okay, where is your mindset? What do you need to be thinking about to get to the goal? It's not just about actions. We always think that the reason we're not where we want to be is some outside source. We're going to unpack that today. But really, what if it was just all within our control? That would change everything, right? To know that we could take back control of everything that's going on. And then if you stay to the end, I'm actually going to have a business blueprint for you. So if you're thinking about starting a business and you don't know how to begin, I'm going to give you a 4-step business blueprint that you can take and run with it. And then if you decide you want help with it, there's an opportunity for you to get help to build that, or you can take that and do it on your own. All right, let's dig in. Let's dig in. I'm kind of warm in here today. Air conditioner. Let's turn on the air conditioner really quick. I love just Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all that fun stuff. Okay. Let's get some cool air going. All right, number 1. Here it is. Remember, we're talking about the struggle buses, okay? Struggle buses. And wouldn't we just love to get off the struggle bus? Let's get off the struggle bus. That's what we're going to do today. No more struggle bus. We are going to get on the jet to success. And success can mean anything to you, right? Whether it starts with your finances or maybe you have a different kind of goal. We'll walk through some of those too. But okay, number 1, the first one. And this especially happens when you're thinking about starting something new. Overwhelm. Are you stuck in overwhelm? I get stuck in overwhelm, heck, almost every day. Where you sit down and either you have so much going on, right? You see so much that you don't know where to start, and so it sort of paralyzes you. Does that sound familiar to you? Are you experiencing any of that? You know what it feels like you feel it deep in here. And overwhelm can cause so much anxiety because when we can't make, and it keeps us from making decisions. And when we can't make decisions, we can't change anything. We just stay stuck where we are. So I want you to break it all down in a step by step if that's where you are. I call it reverse engineering. I think that's just a general term for take where you want to go and put that on a piece of paper. Let's say your goal is to make 60,000 extra dollars this year. Let's just put that as an example. Or even better. Right now, the one of the programs that I am working with, they have an opportunity. It's 30K in 90 days, right? So let's say that your goal is to make 30K in 90 days. And if you're like me, you're thinking that is absolutely insane. I've never made that much money before. And I just don't see how that's possible. That's overwhelm, right? All that doubt starts popping up right away. That's our snake going, no way, that's not even possible. You can see how this plays out every day in our minds. So, overwhelm is what keeps you from moving forward. But what if I told you you could join a challenge that was going to break that down for you so that you literally got to see step by step what you needed to do each day in that 90 days was a step by step breakdown of, okay, here's what you're taking action on today. Okay, next day, day 2, take action here, because it's been reverse engineered to reach that goal at the end. Having a map, would that eliminate the overwhelm? Yes. Yes, it would. So that's where I want you to go. Whatever your goal is, whether you want to take this challenge on that I'm talking about right now, you can join that. Absolutely. You could start that today. In fact, the official start date is tomorrow. So you could join anytime, but if you wanted to start tomorrow to where you could learn how to do 30K in 90 days, that opportunity is available for you. All you need to do is put info. Just put info in the comments and I will make sure to connect you with that info. Okay, so number 2, let's talk about the number 2 struggle bus. And I always say, I'm like the pot calling the kettle black, because perfectionism. How many of you don't make any changes, any real significant changes? You don't take action. You get stuck in all the planning because you want it to be perfect. And it's really, perfectionism, there's so many causes for perfectionism. We won't dig into all of that today. But you end up not doing anything because you've basically walked through, your snake has basically walked through the whole process and showed you how you couldn't be successful with it if you're not going to be perfect, if you can't do it perfectly. And so you just stay paralyzed. You don't take any action because you don't want to make a mistake. Oh, mistakes. That's a whole nother training. We could talk about mistakes. Got to embrace the mistakes. But what if instead of having to have everything perfect before we actually started or before we actually moved forward, what if you were able to just start from where you're at and know that it's going to be messy in the middle, right? Messy in the middle, meaning here's where we're at, here's where we want to be. This is going to be messy. I always say, we're hikers on an expedition to the summit. And guess what? Our trip to the summit is not a straight path. If you are hiking any mountain, have you ever done that before? Anyone? Tell me, are you a hiker? Any kind of a journey, Do you know every single step of what's on that trail ahead of you? No. You have a basic map, right? It's going to be messy sometimes. You're not going to get every single step right. Now, one of the things you can do if you're struggling with perfectionism is have a guide with you. Have a guide that helps you. Someone who's been there before, someone who has walked the path, right? Who's done the trail and can show you the exact steps to take. That's going to be much faster to get and much easier. Oh my gosh, that's a major shortcut. You're not going to make as many mistakes if you have someone showing you the way the whole time. And you choose how that happens, right? Whether you're like me, I had to hire a coach. I say had to because I avoided it for so many years. It's one of my biggest business regrets. I should have just done it right away, but I was stubborn and I thought I could figure it out myself. And I did to a certain extent. I had a certain amount of success, but truly it was so much more work and so much harder than it had to be because I was a perfectionist. I wanted everything to be perfect. I wasn't willing to go out there and risk not looking professional or, not saying the perfect thing on camera or not having the right graphics on my social media. You name it. I was coming up with every reason for me not to have success. I was in my own way, and it was perfectionism. Not sure that maybe that's not you, but if that's you, there are ways around it. There are ways around it. That's one of the major things that I help my clients with because I get it. I've been there, right? So I want you to think about how you can start with wherever you're at without adding pressure, without judgment, and really without unreasonable expectations. Now, that's my big one, right? I really always have unreasonable expectations, and that only leads to disappointment. uh, just let go of it. Let's just accept the wonder and have the gratitude for every single step forward we make, because every step forward counts. Even if it really it's a sideways step, at least you're taking action. Okay. All right, let's go through this one. Next one. I call it Groundhog Day. You've ever seen the movie Groundhog Day? It's one of my favorite movies. It's not so much the Bill Murray thing or who's in it. It's just the whole concept. The movie's just funny, but basically you're living the same thing day after day. You're on autopilot and you are doing nothing to change it, right? You just keep doing the same thing and making the same mistakes. And it's not anything where you are looking for a way out necessarily. But what if instead of doing the same thing that you've always done that isn't working, what if you started looking, consciously looking, intentionally seeking out different ideas, new opportunities? Even, hear me out, even all the things that you've maybe considered before but shot down. Let's consider challenging our snake. Groundhog Day is just the result of our snake and our moose being in charge of everything. And our moose, don't get me wrong, our moose is just kind of a neutral guy, right? He just does what he knows. He doesn't really have a bias about it. He just does what he knows. But if what he knows isn't getting him to the juiciest, most succulent stuff that grows in the lake, he needs to think of a new opportunity. He needs to look into doing something different. Could you do that? And if you are going to do that, let's be real, changing these things takes a lot of energy and effort. and time and patience, which means we have to give ourselves a lot of grace. Whether you're a perfectionist, whether you're an overwhelm, we have to give ourselves a lot of grace if we are trying to make big changes because we are trying to get a 2,000-pound moose, I don't know how much they weigh, to take a different track. That's a lot of energy and effort to blaze a new trail that he's never seen the destination. He's never experienced it. He's never been there. So he's really not sure that that destination really exists. All he knows is when he's trying to get someplace new that the otters are telling him are out there, it's really hard. It doesn't feel good, right? When you're blazing a new trail, you're stomping on stuff, you're getting all cut up, you can't see where you're going. That's what we're talking about here. So I want you to think about what would it take for you to get out of Groundhog Day. It's not going to feel good right away. Initially, it's going to be like super exciting, but then as soon as you take the first step off the trail, it's going to feel hard. Going to feel hard. What do you need to do to help you, to support you through the blazing a new trail? What do you need that's going to help you make it to the summit? Right? That guide, that's where the guide makes a big difference. Okay, here we go. This is a big one. And I think, once again, this is how we're normally wired. So this is not anything that you should feel badly about. This is just how our brains are wired, but we have to be aware of it to be able to change it. Here's the other one. Circumstances. Are we letting our circumstances control where we're at right now? Because we just kind of just let go, right? And your circumstances could be the worst ever. I don't know your circumstances. I know the challenges I dealt with, had me at times like crumpled on the floor in the shower, just crying because I didn't see the way out. But if you don't let your circumstances control, meaning if you don't let that take over as like, well, here it is, and you're always seeking out a different option, your brain will do the work. Your mind will start at that next frequency, at the next vibration, and look for the solution for you. If you're always looking for the solution, if we're just focused on where we're at right now and what got us here and how bad it feels and how, maybe it's the situation where one of my clients, she was like, yeah, no, I didn't know how I was going to pay rent next month. Those are the kinds of situations. Maybe your car is broken down and you don't know how you're going to find the money to get it fixed. Whatever the situation is, for me, I don't have any retirement fund. I'm looking at working until I die, frankly, if I don't figure something out, which is why I have started a new program. I can tell you all about that later. 100% profit, unbelievable 4 income streams. It's really talk about a way to get out of your circumstances. It's a legitimate business, not an MLM, because I've done those. And no, I won't do them again. Okay, but anyway, I want you to think about what kinds of circumstances are you letting keeping you stuck, keeping you from success. Here's how they show up. If you have any of these things, if you're saying any of these things, if you're thinking of any of these things, circumstances have kept you stuck. are keeping you stuck. If you're thinking, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, right? If you're making decisions based on um, where you want to be, but out of where are you are you making decisions based on your past experience? Is your snake still in control? Are you making decisions that say, yeah, no, I couldn't do that because of your past experience? You know you couldn't do that. That's a sign. I want you to challenge your circumstances and think of different ways. Look for new opportunities, right? Get out of Groundhog Day that can help you change your future. And this even applies within the business. So I'll tell you a story, another story about, when I was getting into my art sales business, I pretty much had an idea of the way it was supposed to be done. And part of that was based on legitimate, research and things that I had seen. And that was, doing shows, traveling to the across the country, doing different art shows. It costs money to apply to them. Then they jury you and tell you whether you're accepted. And then, you have to pack up all your stuff. You have to have your tent, your light, your panels, a trailer. I had all this stuff. But honestly, I thought that was the way to do it, right? Galleries, you get yourself in galleries represented by a gallery, and you do art shows. And you get yourself represented in a gallery by selling at art shows. That's how you, quote, get discovered. That's what I thought I had to do. And it was costing me thousands of dollars. It costs so many thousands of dollars to actually do a show that, you are already $5,000 under before you even had the opportunity to sell your artwork at a show where you had no control over who was showing up. Are those your ideal customers? Those were all the things that I was starting to see where I was making the mistakes, but I didn't know what to do to solve that. And so I just kind of stayed in Groundhog Day for too long and kept doing that. And the longer I did that, the worse my circumstances became. You can see how that becomes a vicious cycle. So think about that. Are you letting your circumstances control your future? Because your circumstances right now are really just the reality from your past experience. It doesn't have anything to do with your future experience. Even though we think that a lot of times, right? So I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. If you are watching this in replay, #replay. If you have any questions, please put your questions. If you have any comments, if any of this sounds familiar to you, just, me. Because I want to know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. But the more you speak up, and I'm going to say own it, right? The closer you are to be able to conquer it and get out of it and crush it. It starts with acknowledging it. That's the beginning, the awareness. Okay, number 5. And it's hard to admit these things. It doesn't ever feel good when we have to take responsibility and look at it and go, yeah, I've totally been in my own way. But like I said, it happens daily, just on different levels, right? If a good example is, today I didn't get up early enough to go and get my walk in before I needed to hit, my computer. It was just, that's myself not being disciplined enough to get up and do that. That's an example, right? I let my circumstances control my actions because I hadn't slept very much the night before. Menopause, I'm telling you what. Okay, here's another one Okay, we're already on number 5. We're rolling through these here. I call this one the dabbler. The dabbler. The dabbler. Are you a dabbler? A dabbler could also be, you could also think of it as a squirrel or the shiny new thing, right? Or the dog. Squirrel, right? Every time something new comes along, you jump on it, right? The otters, like, they get all excited and you just immediately jump on board, right? But you haven't done everything else that it takes to get the moose aligned. And you don't have enough energy and focus and support to get to keep the snake from taking over, and you end up not getting anywhere because you're not focused. You just keep jumping from thing to thing. Oh, this is the solution. Oh, this is the solution. Oh, I know I needed to try that, right? This is where we're looking at the problem with why we're not getting where we want to go is outside, right? We think it's about our circumstances. So we start dabbling and we start just doing little bits of everything instead of staying focused on one thing and seeing it through. Now, if you're ADHD, right? My son, love him to death. But actually, both of my boys have a little bit of ADHD. My youngest one, even more. This is a huge challenge for them to be able to stay focused on something long enough to be able to see any kind of result. And part of that is, our brains are conditioned, especially in this day and age with digital, we're dopamine addicted, which means we constantly, in order to feel good, we need to constantly be hit with dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And our dopamine receptors have become sort of insensitive, right? They just need more and more and more dopamine to feel good. So if you don't immediately have success, you don't have that dopamine hitting your system and you just want to give up. That's the chemical stuff that goes beyond just when we look at it from the outside and we start something and stop something. It's what goes beyond the ADHD process. Okay. So if you're chasing this shiny new thing all the time, it's impossible to really know whether it's going to work for you or not. And I tended to be a dabbler when I was an artist. I would I would like conquer one medium, and like get really good at it, decently good at it, get bored, move on, want to start another medium. So that means, like acrylic painting. And then I'm like, ooh, I want to do fluids, and ooh, I want to do oils, and oh, let's do mixed media. Just constantly jumping around. And here's how that affects your business. And once again, getting in my own way because I had heard it from several people, professionals. Shauna, you really have to stay with one thing. You have to establish your brand before you start moving off on all these different directions. And I was doing it the opposite way. I was like, well, I can't find the thing that's going to hit. So I just kept jumping around. And really, what I needed to do is stay with one thing. You can see how that can really have a huge negative impact on your business. If every time you're out there, you're talking about something different, or if every time you're out there, you're putting something, new in front of someone that just got to know you for something else. Am I making sense? I think I'm making sense. This is a big one. Dabbling is huge. And it's part of the way our culture has, kind of pressured us, right? Because the attention span is so much lower. So staying focused on something for a long period of time doesn't feel good. And then it starts kicking in and we're like, oh, well, shoot, all that self-doubt, right? Well, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And we keep looking for the outside thing that's going to solve the problem when really it's about us controlling our mind and staying focused. I know. I know. You're like, Shauna, these are, I know. Because trust me, I have to diagnose myself every day. When I'm struggling with something or I'm feeling resistance around something, a lot of times I'm like, okay, which is it? Which is it? What am I doing here that's keeping me from really taking action and moving a step forward? What are the excuses I'm making in my mind, right? And dabbling, all of these things show up as excuses, right? The circumstances, I don't have enough time, how much I don't have enough energy, it's so hard. That's how we get in our own way. Okay. Here's one where you're like, "Oh yeah, I get this one. We all have this to some extent. It's just a matter of how much we let it control us." Fear, just flat out plain old fear. And fear actually underlies a lot of these. Fear is actually the foundation for a lot of these 7 struggle buses that we're talking about. It's the root. And the reason it's the root, right, is because that's our snake. And our snake is always the first thing, the first to respond to anything that shows up. The snake is always on guard, always watching for what's going to go wrong, always watching for the problem, on watch constantly. So he's always the first to respond. And fear gets activated way too often. And then we have all those chemicals that go through us that happen with fear, right? When we start fear, we have doubt, and then the cortisol and our adrenaline and all these things start getting in the way. And they actually negatively impact us. They keep us from taking action. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to keep us from making a mistake, right? So it's that flight or fight response. Are we going to fight it or are we going to run away? Either one isn't going to help us get towards our goal. It's an escape route. It's a security safety issue, right? So if you're afraid to do it, I want you to think about why. Why are you afraid to do it? Where's the fear coming from? Is it coming from maybe past failures? I can give you a list of those, of how many things I've tried that didn't work when it came to a business. I did Mary Kay. I did baskets. At one point, I was selling precious metals, right? It's kind of an MLM type opportunity. I had a lot of businesses where I was, having to build a team of people underneath me in order to really be successful. Rodan and Fields. One of my favorites that I probably actually would have stuck with this one, Scout and Cellar Wine. I love their product. I love them. I love everything I stand for. I'm in a state that doesn't let you ship in the product. So that was a problem. But you can see how when you've had enough failures, so to speak, what when you have a new opportunity, your snake is automatically going to shut it down. You've never been successful before. Why would this work for you? That's fear, right? So you need to think about looking at when that's activated, that reverse engineering. Well, what would be the first step? And what would be the safest way for me to make this happen? What would make me feel supported and safe? on my journey to the summit. So my journey right now is quickly recovering, right, from years of not being able to save for retirement. And I had to quickly think, okay, yeah, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of the future. And I'm terrified if I don't do anything. So I need to do something. And I made the decision after much skepticism and kind of watching it for, well, gosh, it was almost 4 months. I wish I had jumped in when I saw it. It would have been so much easier. I would have been where I wanted to be by now, right? All those regrets start kicking in, but I was afraid. But now that I'm in the program, I'm like, this was a no-brainer. I should have just done it. I'm in a program where I have a product that's already been built for me. If you are wanting to start a business and you don't have your product built out yet, you don't have to waste all the time. We're talking years to get a product built, to get a website built, to be able to offer your product. Then you have to build your social media following. And you could have a business that you can have up and running in 2 days with a product that's already been proven. So it's an easy, you don't have to go tell anyone, no, yeah, this works. You already have proof that it works. Plus, you have a community of experts who are teaching you the skills you need to sell the product. Oh my gosh, it was a life changer for me. And if I had known about it earlier, even earlier than, last December, I would have jumped in. But instead, I let fear hold me back. Fear because I was thinking in the past. Okay? But I want you to think about what support you need that would help you take the leap and trust in the system, trust in the product, and trust in yourself that you can do this. Okay, 7. Because that's where my biggest issue was. I really didn't trust myself anymore. I had failed so many times. Why would this be different? I didn't have a lot of belief and trust in myself when I started. So the fact that I have been successful at it is pretty freaking amazing. That just tells you how good the product and the business is, because it was actually able to overcome all the things that I had put in the way of being successful. That's pretty phenomenal. Okay, here's the last one. Um, and to me, this one is the scariest, and I have been there before. And I say it's the scariest because this actually felt the worst. And it was, getting to this point means depression, means feeling hopeless, and it means giving up, frankly. So, number 7, ambivalence. I know it's kind of ambivalence. This is where you don't think it's worth trying anymore. This is where you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, what's the point? I don't see any reason to do anything different. Nothing's worked before. You think that things are too far gone. Here's how it showed up for me for a long time. Felt like it was too late. It was too late to fix this situation that I've gotten myself in, to dig out of the hole. That's when ambivalence is hitting you, when you are feeling like you're just giving up. If you are experiencing any of these things, it's okay because we're wired as humans to actually go to these places. These are the defenses that are naturally wired into us that we have to understand how to conquer and reprogram so that we can reach the goal where we want to go, right? We have to learn how to tap into universal laws and use them to our advantage to help us overcome all these things that are keeping us from getting where we want to go. So how will this show up emotionally? It shows up emotionally as you see something, let's say you see something online and you're like, "Oh wow, wouldn't that be nice?" Wouldn't that be nice? Or, well, of course she's successful. She's gorgeous. She had, you start making all the excuses for why they can do it and you can't. I call it the comparison caboose. When you're looking at all those things that you would love to have, that you would love to be, but you don't think for whatever reason you can be there. Whether it's because you don't deserve it, whether it's because you don't think that you have everything you need or they had some sort of advantage. Looking at it in that way, as opposed to inspiration of what could be, what is out there waiting for you. You see it, the difference in how those feel. It's the same thing. You're still looking at the millionaire, I'm just making this up, the millionaire lifestyle where, they're on the beach and, they're walking the beach and the sunset. You're still looking at the same picture, but how you interpret it is completely different. And how you feel as a result is completely different because you choose which interpretation, which means you choose how you feel, which means you choose which action you take. Are you going to choose to feel discouraged because they have it and you don't? Of course, blah, 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 or are you going to choose the opportunity? Oh my gosh, if they could have that, so can I. Which feeling? The excitement, the opportunity, yes, I'm going to do whatever it takes, the commitment, right? The resilience, the tenacity, right? You have to be tenacious to do this. I'll be honest, anything we want to achieve, whether it's a goal, a sales goal in your business or retirement, or maybe you want to be like me. I don't really want to retire and do nothing. That's just not my personality. I know I want to keep making an impact, but I need more finances to be able to make a bigger impact. And I want to do it on my terms, which means I don't want to have to be tied to a business. Like for a long time, I wanted a coffee shop. And, the thing about the coffee shop is you're tied to it, right? Especially when you're starting it, you've got to do all the hours. You have to, whereas if I have a business that's online, I can take it wherever I want to in the world. And if I have the right systems and automations in place, I don't have to work it 10, 12 hours, 14 hours, which is what I was doing in my previous online business. And I still love that business, but guess what? It wasn't set up to be passive income. Even though I loved it, it wasn't set up to be passive income. And now I have a business where I'm still making 100% profit, even though I didn't build the product or the business. I have all the benefits. I can immediately get out there, make my offers, show people how I can help them get wherever they're going to go, wherever they want to go with their business. This package, this program gives it to them on a silver platter. And the bonus part of it is that along with that, you have the opportunity to go and resell that for different streams of income within this one program. You have an opportunity to make $900, $600, $300, and $100. That's phenomenal. Like I said, I was just blown away. Different than anything else I'd ever done. Was I kind of suspicious? Yeah. Did I have my doubts? Yeah. But did I go all in anyway? Yes. Did I reap the reward? Yes. Honestly, I recouped my investment. I made back everything that I put into it within 3 weeks. I never had a business that I'd done that before. You kidding me? I just kept putting money into them. Never breaking even within 3 weeks. Being in the black within 3 weeks. Phenomenal. So here's the thing. If you want that info for what I'm talking about, you can go to shaunasdailypay.com. And here's what happens when you go there. You just put your email in, and you need to check your spam because a lot of times it'll get delivered over there, right, in your spam. But here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the business blueprint for the program that I'm talking about that shows you, it's kind of the map of how you can take this and make it your own and start rolling. You're going to get the skills you need. You're going to get this community and support. You're going to get the guide to help you get up the summit on the trail so you don't get lost along the way. All of that. Because success is really what we want for everyone. All right, I'm going to let you go for today. Once again, subscribe and like. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope some of these have kind of brought some awareness of maybe where you may be getting stuck and how you can take them and flip them, right? Just flip it over. If you're like, Shauna, I can see where I'm stuck, but I don't know how to get past it. That's actually what I specialize in. That's what I started my business as my coaching business as a mindset coach. I still coach inside of other programs for their clients who are stuck with these very things. We have systems, we have tools, we have strategies that will help you get past these. So whatever it is you really desire, you're no longer in your own way and you can conquer them. So if you have words in your head, well, I can't do this, or I want you to think take can't away and realize that it's actually a choice. Can't means I won't. Okay? I know that's a tough one because I catch myself saying that all the time. We have to eliminate that word out of our vocabulary, and the techniques we use to do it, there's an actual process that we have to go through to reprogram our minds so that we don't do that anymore to ourselves. Because we are the only things that are in the way of our success. If we are always open to what we need to receive to be able to be successful, the path will be laid out before us. Leap and the net will appear. It's terrifying, but that's the way the universe works. And when you've come across something that is a solution, now obviously do your homework, do your research. You don't want to jump it. You don't want to be the dabbler and go for the shiny new thing. But when you see a solution and in your gut, in your heart, it's telling you it's the right thing, don't wait. Do it. Take action. All right, I'm going to let you go. Take care.